Tried to tell you a little bit about the saddest day at Banteay Preab so far, I think. On the morning of the 17th of October, Richie and Jup, the Thai director of the school, Top Tit, the Cambodian director of the school, and two student leaders from the house of the offending student, his name was Sarom, came together to have a meeting to discuss the behaviour of Sarom. And he'd done various other things like gambling away the food money with new students. And so the directors pointed out to him that he'd had many chances and many warnings, and he'd finished 10 months of study. He'd learned enough to do a trade, and they'd give him a certificate for the trade. He could come back on graduation day, but he could not stay in the school any longer. And he seemed to accept. So the meeting ended, and he got up from the meeting, and then all of a sudden Jup heard people shouting, "No, no!" So Jup jumped up thinking the student had a gun, and he put his hand around the gun and held the gun, held the student. And the handicapped students tried to run away. One handicapped student tried to jump out the window, but his leg was so heavy, he fell back down and he lay underneath a couch in the room. So he saw everything that happened. And nobody knew where Richie was at that stage. And then Jup realised it was a hand grenade. The man had pulled the pin out of it already. So he thought, well, maybe I'll be killed, but I've got to take my chance now. So without seeing Richie or anybody else in the room, he really thought the room was empty, Jup ran down the corridor. And he ran into one of the classrooms, and when he got in there he realised that classroom had barred windows on it. So he thought, oh, if he comes in here after me, or he'll kill all the students. So he ran to try and get out. Before he got out of the room, the grenade had exploded. It seems that Richie got up from his chair, or from wherever he was, and once the students started to go down a little bit down the corridor after Jup, Richie jumped behind and grabbed him from behind and held him by the arms. And the student, Sarom, said, let me go, teacher, I don't want to kill you." But it seems Richie couldn't trust him. That was how the man under the couch saw it. And he said, and Richie continued to hold on. Now, according to Sarom, the grenade then fell out of Sarom's hand, which Richie was trying to open, we think, and hit the artificial leg of the student and bounced behind the two of them and came up and hit Richie in the back of the skull. And Richie fell to the floor, still clasping the student. He fell to the floor in the corridor. If Richie hadn't held the student could have thrown the grenade into a classroom full of students who couldn't escape because there were bars on the window. He could have killed other people. He could have killed the one that Richie was calling out about. Nobody really knows. We thought Richie was still alive, and so people rushed him to the hospital, and I went immediately when I got the phone call to the hospital, and then I had to go in to see the dead body and to hear the doctor say that he's dead and to confirm that it was Richie. The whole place, the disabled students, especially some of the ones closest to Richie, were just crying, and they all came quickly into Phnom Penh. All night the students kept vigil and different people watching. I can only say the first reaction was just complete disbelief. I couldn't, even though I spent all my time running around and trying to do all the practical things to be able to get the body to come back to the Philippines very quickly so we could give this gift back to the mother and father. You know, the whole time you run and see some official and try to be either cross or sweet with them, whichever demanded, and then you'd be running away from the place crying as you tried to get yourself organised for the next person. I think when we were wandering around the airport as Richie's body was being taken to the aeroplane in Father Vincent's white car that's taken us all everywhere for 10 years, that was a very, very sad moment for me.
pigilan, sandali lang ang dilim. Yung bilangin ang bawat sandali, kagalakay wari-walang patid. Magkasama tayo sa pagsapit ng sanglangit sa daigdig. Minamahal kitang tunay, ang tinig ko sa'yo'y bubuhay. Sambitin mo ang aking himig, at ako sa iyo'y ahawit. Alaala ng pagkakaibigan, sa puso itago't ingatan. Sa pagsilay ng bukas, tingnan. Alaala at puso'y iisa. Minamahal kitang tunay.